Good morning, people. How are we today? It is Tuesday the 12th of December. I am sat in the new car. I've had it for a couple of days. I just haven't had a chance to film a video, and I'm also at the moment, given Christmas, things are a bit slow, so I'm trying to just space out my videos so that I can keep content rolling out for you guys. Next week I am going to get out a good video. I'm going go-karting a week today again. I did go the other day, but this time I've rented a head cam, so I'll have video footage for that. Something a little bit different. I know it's not normally what I put out on here, but a little bit of entertainment, something for over Christmas, because like I say, things are just very slow. So yeah, I purchased a Vauxhall Astra. If you saw my last video, you'll see that the Mondeo sold. The same day, actually, I picked up a Vauxhall Astra. It was about 2 minutes around the corner from me. It's a 1.9 CDTI 8 valve, so 120 brake horsepower, 2006, but really low mileage for its age. It's actually in quite a good condition as well. To be fair, it drives really well. When we first picked it up, there was a little bit of a knock from the back, so I just had a quick look over that, and it turns out the back wheel was loose. So whoever had done whatever there before hadn't tightened it up properly. But yeah, on the overall, it's quite a tidy car. Needs a bit of a clean inside, so I'll get round to that at some point. It is listed up, but again, like I say, it's Christmas, nobody's got money to spend. Hence I'm keeping with cheaper cars at the moment, because it's the sort of car that at this time of year people will only buy it if they really want it and have been saving for one particularly, or they're in desperate need of a runabout to get them by. It's got 3 months MOT left. I don't see why it wouldn't pass another one, and at the end of the day, if it comes to it, I'd be happy to put fresh 12 months on for a prospective buyer if that's what they wish for, so that's not an issue at all. 4 tyres are all nice and meaty, 5 or 6 mm tread. I've had a look over the brakes, front and rear, all good. No knocks from the suspensions. I've had a quick look underneath. The springs look good, the shocks look good, the bushes look okay, so the usual stuff. And it actually drives quite smoothly. There's no rattles, nothing like that. The only thing that I could see possibly being an advisory is a little bit of rust on the back box, but it hasn't actually gone through, so it's not blowing. But again, being a cheap car, if it was something a little bit higher value that I was looking to make a bit of a margin, better margin out of, I should say, then I would look at replacing that back box. However, as it's just going to be a cheap runabout for someone, I know it's not an MOT fail. It will be an advisory, yes, but it's going to be good for another year when they do the MOT. So for someone to have a cheap runabout, it's then on them if they wish to do that, and it keeps the price lower. So sometimes it's just about evaluating what market you are approaching and whether it's feasible to do the work on that car to then push the market value up. So I've got it listed for £1,000 at the moment, no offers. If I was to do the back box, given the cost of parts and labour, I'd then be pushing it up to £1,400 to £1,500, which is sort of coming up to the top end of the market for a car like this. So yeah, like I say, you've just really got to evaluate, is it worth you putting the work in a lot of cars? Granted it is, but when you've got just a cheap runabout that you want to get in and out of the door and that will benefit somebody, then that's something that you've got to think about to be able to keep the price low. There's no engine lights on this car, which is great. It starts up, runs absolutely beautifully. It was for a couple of days, it was a bit rough starting, but the people I'd got it off, the girl had upgraded her car about 2-3 months before, and it had just been sat on the drive. Obviously being a diesel, I think just sitting for a couple of weeks, it was just a little bit rough and needed a good run to clear out. So 3 or 4 times now I've just started it up, let it sit, run up to temperature, just burn everything up in the system, and it's improving. This morning it started up really well, actually started pretty much first time. Little puff of smoke out the back still, but nothing too bad. It's just a bit of a diesely sort of smell, and again, that's usually where it's been sitting, because over the start it has been gradually improving. I've got it running now. I'm just sat here in my car park, so it's running now and warming up. But yeah, I will show you around. I've got a little bit of service history with it, not masses, it's not overly great, but there's a little bit to back it up. Like I say, it's a cheap runabout, it will do someone well, it runs really well, it's low mileage, and for £1,000 in this current market and with the cost of living, I know it'll do someone a good turn, so I'm not too worried about the lack of full service history. So yeah, I'll flip around, I'll show you the service history, then we'll jump out and have a quick walk around. Okay, so we have in 2008 GM PDI centre at 13,937 miles. Now, I don't know whether this was being sold second-hand at that time or whatever, but what my suspicions are is that ink still looks very, very, very fresh, and the next stamp isn't until 2017, so 9 years later, and that's for a cam belt and water pump, and then a few months later there was a full service done. Now, looking over the history of this car, I can see that it had a long-term owner at some point with minimal mileage being done, so that says to me it may have been owned by a slightly elderly person or a slightly older person. So here we have pads, discs, shock absorbers, aux belt tensioner, coolant drain, fresh antifreeze, MOT, front wipers, they're fairly recent, and I think, yeah, that's about it. So as I say, there's not much in terms of written service history. However, given the small amount of mileage the car has done over a certain period of time, I think the original service book may well have been lost and replaced by Vauxhall, which can be quite common. And the reason, like I say, the ink looks really fresh for that 2008 mark. Normally they look quite faded by then, and just given how the car runs, how it looks, how it feels, I would be inclined to think it's got a bit of a better service history than that. The person I bought it off owned it for the last 3 years, did service it. There was a lot of work that was done by a friend, which I'd seen pictures of and sort of messages to confirm, but again, that wasn't written. So it has been serviced over the last 3 years. It was only more heavier work, like the shock absorbers and so on, that were done by a garage. So yeah, I can't rely on the service history that's there, but there is some, so that's all good. As you saw, cam belt was done at 75,000 miles. We're now on 128, so really low mileage for the age. You'd expect to see these on about 178 to 180,000 miles by now. So yeah, it's only overall quite a nice car. Oh, excuse me. Does have front heated leather seats, so that's quite a nice addition. Full leather interior with that. Standard Vauxhall Astra inside, Astra H, not much more you can expect from it. CD30, MP3, standard dials, so on and so forth. It hasn't got anything else fancy. There's no cruise control or anything like that, not power folding mirrors or anything like that. It's quite a base spec SRI, to be honest. It hasn't got an XP kit on, but you'll see that in a moment when I'll give you a walk around. But like I say, it's not about what it's got, it's about how it runs, and it does run really well. So I'm just gonna pull it forward out the parking space so it's a bit clearer to walk around, and I will give you guys a quick walk around of the car before we close the video. Like I say, 2006 in black, quite a nice looking car. It's obviously a little bit dirty, it's been raining, the weather isn't great right now, but there's no big marks, no big bumps or anything like that on the car. So on the overall, it is quite decent. So as I was saying, guys, another thing to back this car up, don't know how well you can see on the camera, but for a diesel, the quality of that oil is really clean. You'd expect to see it much darker than that. Still got a really nice viscosity to it. It's not thick, it's still quite a light colour, so it's quite tidy. It's hard to obviously see in the engine bay, but there's no leaks. Coolant is really pink, so that looks fresh. These tend to rust through, and even that is in a very good condition. So yeah, on the overall, as I say, I'm quite happy. As you probably just heard, starts up straight away, doesn't chuck out any smoke when you rev it. Get a tiny little puff of diesel smoke every now and then when you take it right up. But on the overall, yeah, quite a tidy car. Really happy with it. I think it will do someone a really good turn. So I'm going to wrap this video up now. If you haven't seen my previous videos, check them out. Give me a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe. Really helps me out, and I will update you guys when there's another video coming out. If you go over to my Facebook page at Diesel Demon, you can keep an eye on there. I usually update before I'm about to upload a video. Also, if you do subscribe, hit the bell icon, you'll see another video coming out if you don't do Facebook. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Take care.